turning crimson. He began to cough a wet, rattling sound that made the other students back away. Tripper, Bernard wheezed, grabbing a nearby carafe of water and downing it in one go. What have you done? It's the Himalayan heat, chef, for the depth. It is the depth of hell, Bernard screamed, his voice cracking. I can no longer feel my tongue. I can no longer feel my future. Jack spent the rest of the day scrubbing the communal ovens while Larry waited outside, looking sheepish. How was it? Larry asked. Let's just say Bernard is currently in the infirmary having his taste buds replaced, Jack said, handing Larry the jar. And if I ever see you near a spice rack again, I'm going to use your heat to season your shoes. Chapter 27. A Rivalry in Petals. While Jack was dealing with the fallout of the pepper disaster, Jana was facing a crisis at the flower shop. A new boutique, the Floral Fantasy, had opened across the street, and they were stealing customers with a gimmick, singing delivery men. It's ridiculous, Jana told her boss, Mr. Henderson. Who wants a man in a tutu singing I love you truly while handing over a dozen carnations? Apparently, half of Santa Monica, Mr. Henderson sighed. Our sales are down 20%. Jana, if we don't do something fantasy soon, we're going to be historically out of business. Determined to save the shop, Jana decided to go for high art. She spent 3 days creating a life-sized sculpture made entirely of dried hydrangeas and driftwood. It was meant to represent the spirit of the coast. The day of the unveiling, a crowd gathered. The sculpture was beautiful, haunting, elegant, and entirely different from the singing tutus across the street. Just as Mr. Henderson Higgins was about to cut the ribbon, Chrissy arrived with a bag of special fertilizer she'd found at a garage sale. I thought it would make the flowers look even brighter, Chrissy chirped, reaching over the velvet rope and sprinkling the powder over the sculpture. Chrissy, no, Jana shouted. But it was too late. The powder, which turned out to be a highly concentrated, fast-acting plant food meant for outdoor trees, reacted with the humidity of the sea air. Within minutes, the sculpture began to grow. The hydrangeas expanded, the driftwood shifted, and the spirit of the coast transformed into a 10-foot-tall floral monster that blocked the sidewalk. It's a masterpiece. An art critic from the local paper exclaimed, snapping a photo. It's a commentary on the uncontrollable nature of the environment. It's genius. The Floral Fantasy closed its doors a week later. Nobody could compete with a growing floral monster. Jana was hailed as a visionary, though she spent most of her time pruning the spirit back so it wouldn't eat the bakery next door. Chapter 28. The Ghost of the Beagle. The month ended with a mystery. Rumors began to circulate that the Regal Beagle was haunted. Glasses would slide across the bar, the jukebox would play YMCA at 4 in the morning when the building was empty, and several regulars reported seeing a pale, blonde figure wandering near the restrooms. It's a ghost, Chrissy whispered as they sat at their usual table on a Thursday night, a lonely soul looking for a cold beer and a dance partner. "It's probably just a draft," Jana said, though she looked nervously at the swaying chandelier. Jack, sensing a chance to impress a group of flight attendants at the next table, stood up. "Fear not. Watchdog Jack on the case. I've studied the paranormal. I know how to speak to the beyond." He walked to the center of the room and began a dramatic seance, calling out to the spirit of the beagle. Suddenly, a loud crash sounded from the kitchen. A figure emerged, pale, disheveled, and carrying a crate of whiskey. "Who's there?" Jack squeaked, hiding behind a bar stool. "It's Jim," the bartender shouted. "The night porter. I told you the floor was slippery. He's been falling down the stairs every night for a week." "And the jukebox?" Jana asked. "Broken timer," Jim grumbled, rubbing his head. "I keep telling the owner to fix it, but he says it adds atmosphere." The ghost of the beagle turned out to be a man with a bad knee and a faulty wiring system. Jack's reputation as a paranormal investigator was ruined, but at least they could drink their beer in peace. Chapter 29: The Dean's Inspection. The piece of apartment 201 was shattered by an official-looking envelope that arrived by certified mail. It wasn't a bill, and it wasn't an eviction notice from Roper. It was worse. "It's from Dean Travers," Jack said, his voice dropping an octave. "The head of the Technical Institute. He's coming here tomorrow." "Why?" Jana asked, looking up from her accounts. "Did you set another kitchen on fire?" "No. He wants to conduct a moral character assessment," Jack explained frantically. "Apparently, someone reported that I was living in a communal arrangement of questionable repute. If he thinks there's anything normal going on here, I'll lose my scholarship." "What are we supposed to do?" Chrissy asked. "We are communal. We have to make this place look like a monastery." Jack shouted. "Jana, hide the spicy books. Chrissy, take down the disco ball. And most importantly, we need to convince him I'm, well, you know." "We've already convinced Roper," Jana reminded him. "How hard could one dean be?" Dean Travers arrived at 2 p.m. the following day. He was a man who seemed to be made entirely of starch and disappointment. He carried a clipboard and wore a hat that looked like it had been molded out of concrete. "Mr. Tripper," Travers said, stepping into the living room and sniffing the air as if checking for the scent of sin. "I trust your living arrangements are conducive to academic excellence." "Oh, absolutely, Dean," Jack chirped, wearing a cardigan that was 3 sizes too large. "We spend our evenings discussing the structural integrity of the soulful and the history of the fork." Jana entered, wearing a high-collared dress and glasses she didn't need. "Would you like some tea, Dean? It's a very conservative blend." "And who is this?" Travers asked, adjusting his spectacles. "This is my sister, Jana," Jack lied smoothly. "She's a